let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
I arrived in Paris just in time for Christmas. The holidays were pleasant. Some Negro friends invited me to Christmas dinner. A wonderful home-cooked meal it was, too. During the holiday week, I saw Cartier-Bresson, Nancy Cunard, Bricktop, and the Rumans. Louis Aragon introduced me to George Adam, who had begun to translate my short stories into French, and I met Pierre Chacas, my publisher. For almost 5 years now, I had earned a living from writing. So my dream was beginning to become true, to be a professional writer. And it had been my good fortune so far not to have to write anything I did not really want to write. Meanwhile, my interest had broadened from Harlem and the American Negro to include an interest of all the colored peoples of the world. In fact, all the people of the world as I related to them and they related to me. I liked being a writer, traveling, meeting people, and looking at main events like the Depression in America, the transition from serfdom to manhood in Soviet Asia, and the war, the Civil War in Spain, in it all, but at the same time, apart from things too. In the Soviet Union, I was a visitor. A visitor. In the midst of a dreary, moral-breaking depression in America, I lived in a bright garden cottage at Carmel with a thoroughbred dog and a servant. In the Civil War in Spain, I am a writer, not a fighter. But that is what I want to be, a writer, recording what I see, commenting upon it, and distilling from my own emotions, a personal interpretation. Unconsciously, in doing this, I found that music helped me, and everywhere I looked for it, and I listened. All over Paris that winter, there was Negro music in Montmartre, the clubs, and the French jazz bands all over town were trying their best to beat out like the Negroes. The left bank, Africans dancing. But Paris did not seem as happy that winter as it had been in the summer. There was much talk about war in the air, not just war in Spain, but the Parisian intellectuals declared Spain was only a training ground for Hitler and Mussolini, a place to try out Nazi bombing planes and educate fascist pilots. The coming war, they predicted, would be everywhere. The charming but sad Jacques Roman said, "I expect the world will end." "I doubt it," I answered. "And if it does, I intend to live to see what happens." He smiled. "You Americans," he said. But many Americans felt then as apprehensive as did the Europeans. A number of longtime residents of Paris were considering packing up to come home. I myself had wanted to spend the winter in France, but I'd had to send most of my money to Cleveland. Letters from my mother said that she was no better and that since my brother was back in college in Wilberforce, she hated to live alone. So she wrote that she had to give up the house to move in with some cousins. My mother. But her illness worried me, so I thought I'd better go straight home and see about her. There wasn't much choice, anyhow. I had just about enough money left to pay my passage. But this was not the first time I'd found myself in Paris practically penniless. I'd been doing so in my first weeks in the city long ago when I jumped ship and came here in 1924, looking for work. And since then, I had been broke or almost broke in so many other cities around the world and still had fun. That my personal predicament didn't worry me much. Sitting one night in Bar Bourdon on Rue Douai, where the Negroes musicians gathered, I remembered once during my childhood in Kansas, my grandmother had given me an apple that had been bruised and so had a brown spot on it. I didn't want to eat the apple. My grandmother said, "What's the matter with you, boy? Can't you accept every apple to be a perfect apple? Just because it's got a speck on it, you want to throw it away. Bite the speck out and eat the apple, son. It's still a good apple." That's the way the world is, I thought. If you bite the specks out, it's still a good apple. In Paris, I stayed at an Ethiopian hotel, the only colored hotel in town, which amazed the Negro newspaperman John Davis when he stopped in Montmartre on his way to interview the Emperor Haile Selassie, in exile near London. In Paris, he said, of all places to stay, in a colored hotel, why? For fun, I said. The hotel was amusing, with bushy-haired Ethiopians, Sudanese, Algerians, and other non-Persians, Parisians rather, characters coming in and out, and a panorama of Montmartre from its windows. John Davis said he had to interview Haile Selassie the next morning at 9 at His Highness's country place in England. So he took the night plane for London. But I learned from Davis later in New York that when he rose very early the next day in London to drive out to see the emperor and got there promptly at 9, he was told that the appointment was for 9 o'clock Ethiopian time, which meant 4 that afternoon. Said Davis, I could have had an extra night in Paris. Before his departure from Paris, we had gone night clubbing along Rue Pigalle and had met a charming girl who said she was from Java, part Dutch, part Javanese, but who spoke hesitant English and broken French with a Georgia drawl. John Davis whispered to me over the champagne he had bought that he was sure she was colored from somewhere in Dixie, passing for Javanese in Paris, which amused him greatly. The girl was so exotic looking that I doubted she was American and disputed his insistence on it. I was wrong. Later, I ran into the girl in New York talking perfectly good Harlemese and not passing for anything else on Lenox Avenue, where she was quite at home. On New Year's Eve, I went to the Paris Opera alone. Why I chose to hear Samson and Delilah that particular night, I don't remember now. After the opera, I intended locating a party that was given by some Martinique friends of mine and a friend, Guyana poet, what's his name, Leon Damas, a protege of Jadis, right? We're giving, it was in the Latin Quarter, but when I started down into the metro, I found that I had left the address of the party at my hotel. Rather than go back to the hotel and get it, since it was nearly midnight, I decided not to go to the party. Instead, I walked down the almost deserted boulevards towards Madeleine, thinking there might perhaps be midnight mass with organ music, for New Year's. Midway between the opera and the Madeleine, I noticed a slightly limping figure approaching me. His head was down in his overcoat collar because it was cold. I remember that limp from Moscow. Saki Sano, the Japanese theater director I met at Meyerhold rehearsals. We were surprised to see each other. To exchange news, we went into the glass enclosure of a sidewalk cafe and ordered drinks. All but one table on the glass-encircled winter terrace were empty. Through the glass outside, we could see the lights of the lonely boulevard, for very few people were passing in the chilly darkness. Quite unlike New York on New Year's Eve, downtown Paris at midnight, as midnight approached, was very quiet. The French remained home on holidays. Sano said, I read a year or two ago about you in the newspaper, in Moscow, about you being expelled from, Japan. I'm sorry that happened to you in my country, but I am expelled too. I cannot go back. I'm sure someday you can go back, I said, and I too, if I want to. But Saki said, and he wasn't, so optimistic, There was too many people wandering around the world now who can't go home, he said. Lots of them are in Moscow. More are in Paris. People from the Hitler countries, from South American dictatorships, from China, from my own Japan. No exiles from America, though I wouldn't be surprised if the day didn't come. That's one nice thing about America, I said. I can always go home, even when I don't want to. Bon année, said the waiter, bringing our drinks. It's the new year. Sure enough, faintly, somewhere out in the Paris night, we could hear the bells tolling for the entrance of 1938. So we lifted our glasses. And Saki said, and we shook hands, Happy New Year, and parted at the corner across from the Café de la Paix. He was going to the left bank and I to Montmartre. Slowly I walked through the lightly falling snow that had begun to sift down over the Paris rooftops in scattered, indecisive flakes. The streets were very lonely as I passed the Galeries Lafayette and the Gare Saint-Lazare and turned up the slight incline leading to Montmartre. Even the little clubs and bars along the way were quiet. Where could everybody be? I wondered. How still it was in this old, old city of Paris in the first hour of the new year. The year before, I had been in Cleveland, the year before that in San Francisco, the year before that in Mexico City, the one before that in Carmel, and the year before Carmel and Tangent. Where would I be the next New Year when it came? I wondered. By then, would there be a war, a major war? Would Mussolini and Hitler have finished their practice in Ethiopia and Spain to turn their planes on the rest of us? Would civilization be destroyed? Would the world really end? Not my world, I said to myself. My world will not end. But worlds, entire nations, and civilizations do end. In the snowy night, in the shadows of the old houses of Montmartre, I repeated to myself, my world won't end. But how could I be so sure? I don't know. For a moment, I wandered, and I wondered.
Good evening, everybody. You all, please sit. Those of you who know me know I don't like to talk long, so we're gonna make this as quick as possible. But I wanna make sure, the only reason this might take a little bit longer than I'm usually comfortable talking is because I wanna make sure that everyone who had a hand in putting together this magnificent program, that you all get to know who they are. Because I think you all can agree that the music and the program tonight has been spectacularly put together. And for those of you who did not put up your Christmas trees the day after Thanksgiving, the Christmas season surely has to be in your spirit after tonight. So let me start off with our young people, our Abbey Kids readers. We want to give thanks to Autumn Williams, Liliana Williams, Torrance Carey, and Carmichael Carey. They stand up there and read beautifully for us this evening. We are going to give thanks to the Abyssinian Liturgical Dance Ministry, Minister Denise Perry, and Assistant Director Nicole Williams. We want to shout out Brilla Pax from Brilla Pax Middle School, who were conducted by Abyssinian Music Ministry member, Michelle Trinidad. Thank you. We absolutely want to give a shout out to the Inner City Youth Orchestra of New York. Absolutely magnificent. Under the conduction of Mr. Charles Dickerson. Yes, sir. And now I want to thank our adult readers, Mr. Charles Carter, Sheila Davis, Roz Davis, Hazel Rosetta Smith, and G. Edwin Robinson. I'm going to give a quick shout out to Kevin Sibley, Mike Bazell, Levon Fulmore, and E.J. Johnson, our band this evening. Byron Burford Fierce on the piano, Brother George Davey, who's been up there sitting behind that pipe organ all night. We're going to give a quick shout out to Chris and Abby Tech and the sound and the live stream. A shout out to the staff who has helped be here during rehearsals and even tonight during the program. And then finally, not finally, but first I want to shout out the powerful singing of Brother Daniel Rich. Then, of course, we want to welcome back to Abyssinian the amazing Brandie Sutton. And then the part of the group that I have the pleasure of being the liaison for, please give it up for the United Voices of Abyssinia. And finally, and then I will sit down and get out of your way, when you put together a program like this with all of these pieces that have to come together and invited guests and all of that, somebody got to be in charge. And so I want to make sure that we stand and give our appreciation for our Minister of Creative Arts and Worship, Mr. Vinroy David Brown. So now I will get out of the way. I will let the music take you all home. And please, if you can, try to stay and listen to Brother Davey play the postlude at the end. He's been working on that organ all night, and we deserve to give him a second to hear what he has to send us home on this evening. So other than that, thank you all for coming out. God bless you. And again, I will turn it back over to Minister Brown and the United Voice of Abyssinia.